What terrified you as a kid that isn't scary now? My grandmother's wallpaper at night. Every time I have a ghost dream, it's always in my grandma's house. And always in the room with the rose wallpaper. No idea why. This is creepy as hell, and I like it. Opening the shower curtain. I was sure there was some monster or murderer waiting for me behind it. I saw a funny tweet once saying something like not sure what my plan was ever gonna be after I flung open the shower curtain and did find a murderer there. Get murdered. No plan required. Sometimes my genius is. It's almost frightening. Bees and wasps. To be honest, I still prefer they don't buzz around me, but when I was little I remained a safe 5 meters away from them. A bee landed on me while I was outside today. I just stayed calm and didn't move much, and he went along on his way. Meanwhile, wasps. I'm still terrified of wasps. I've only been stung once. It was by a bee in 4th grade when I was sitting down listening to the teacher. I wasn't moving in the slightest, but that little fuck still stung me. Over a decade later I'm still terrified of them. My mum gave me advice as a kid that if a wasp comes near you, rather than run away, you should just stay very still. So, the next time a wasp buzzed round me, I did as she said. It then very kindly flew onto my face and decided to take a stroll. It flew off, then back again, and continued having a nice dance across my vulnerably exposed flesh. Meanwhile, I was terrified. Eyes closed and breathing as quietly as I possibly could to avoid inciting its anger. But there's only so long you can stand a murder fly crawling across you with the promise of impending pain. So the 3rd time it blessedly left my face and continued to buzz around my head. I ran away apenmouthed and screaming, shot into my house, and slammed the door. It was much more effective, and is the method I continue to use to this day. No one will ever dissuade me otherwise. This is exactly like my experience. Asking my grandpa a question. Man, was he intimidating to talk to as a kid. Now I love talking to him when I can. That's awesome that he's still around for you to talk to. Then, I wish I'd talked to both of my grandpas more. Same. One gone. One's mind is gone. / A straight row of fully grown trees. Grew up in the desert. Trees were around but not packed densely, and were mostly palo trees or palm trees. But there was a row of trees that looked like what I consider most would imagine typical trees look like. And that one row of trees was also in close proximity to a large prison. My brother told me that's where Mr. Budgety lived and where the escaped murderers would hide when they'd break out of prison. Oh yeah. Did I mention we had a guy break out of prison and murder the town librarian when I was a kid? So, yeah. Tree lines. Edited to @ in my haste last night I did not go and fact check my childhood memories. I had conflated escaped inmates and the librarian murder into the same story. It's not. What I was confused about was the memory of my dad picking me up on my walk home from school. Normally I would walk past the library because he knew that the search for the murderer of the librarian was ongoing. And there were a few times we locked down the school and the rumor mill was that there was a prisoner escape. I have no idea on how I could verify that or not. Although, there have been prisoners that have taken correctional officers as hostages and a librarian at the prison as a hostage in attempts to escape. Mr. Budgety, like from the Disney movie, yep. It was his retirement home after his acting gig. He played himself. Obviously. Serious typecasting in those movies. There was a huge abandoned windmill in our neighborhood that once pumped water from the river. At random. The windmill blades would start to turn at night. Never in the day. As kids that used to hang out nearby, it felt like the windmill was haunted as it came to life at dark hours. Probably a result of the metal cooling down after a day in the sun. Edit. How is this my most upvoted comment on Reddit? Also an expiation for those asking. I was assuming a metal axle which would expand from heat during the day preventing rotation. Then at night when it cools and shrinks again the release of tension cause it to spin. Who are you so wise in the ways of science? Arthur. King of the Britons. Well, I didn't vote for you. Paint. I thought if you got it on you, it would never come off, since it never came off of the walls. When I was 13 my parents let me paint my room lime green. I painted myself, snuck out, and stood outside my friend's window to scare her. Almost gave her dad a heart attack. I wasn't even allowed to finish my room. It's still half green. Tofu getting shot by my friend's dad for my shitty green man cosplay. The green bastard. My bedroom as a kid was a den converted into a bedroom / laundry room, and one wall was covered in a black mirror with gold paint flecks. Very 70s. But at night the shadows combined with the dark glass and paint made me imagine faces, figures, etc. It really scared me, and I would line up my stuffed animals along my bed to protect me. I too was protected by a line of stuffed animals. The monsters didn't get me, so it must have worked. I did somewhat the same thing, but I made forts out of Jenga bricks, Legos, and toy soldiers to protect me in my sleep. I had imaginary friendly monsters who protected me from the bad monsters. Not only did I have armed, loyal stuffed animals, but I also had fireworks in the corners of my room to trick monsters that they were motion detecting explosives. That worms would come out of my shower head. A snake would come out of the toilet and bite me while I was sitting on it, especially in the middle of the night. I still check. I'm 32. I still check behind the shower curtain anytime I'm in a bathroom. My own, a friend's house, family's, a hotel. Doesn't matter. The one time I don't check is the one time an axe murderer will be hiding there, and I'm not putting myself at risk to pretend I'm brave enough to pee without checking first. But what about that one time they are there? Will you just say aha, then pee in peace? Lol. The Beast from the Sandlet freaked me out back then. But now that I can see how low budget the dog looks, still an amazing movie by the way, I find it a bit less scary. Once I realized the kids were scared of a dog, I was so confused. As soon as I could hop fences I was jumping into yards to play with dogs. I have no idea how I'm alive. When I was a kid, for many years I had only seen the first half of the movie or so I didn't see the scene where the dog chases the kid through town. So I just assumed the beast was like a lion or something. Something genuinely terrifying. I saw the full movie when I was maybe 9 or 10 and saw it was just a dog and had no idea why I was supposed to be scared. Well, in the movie the kids all believe tall tales that the dog has eaten other kids and things like that. So I can see a group of 9 to 12-year-olds worrying about it. That was still a large dog that could have very easily killed or done serious damage to one of those kids. They had no idea whether it was an attack dog or not. They were right to not jump into some person's backyard that's highly fenced off from any view. I don't leave my dogs in my backyard, but plenty of people do, and I'd be entirely pissed if some little kid jumps into my backyard, gets himself hurt / killed. My dog is put to death, and I'd get sued. Use the damn doorbell. Jesus randomly showing up during dinner. I thought he'd use the door. Clearly I was raised to fear the wrath of God. Edited. Thank you for my first awards. I have a reoccurring dream showing the second coming, and I'm not ready. Scares the crap out of me. Most likely to me falling out of my religion. I get those sometimes. Usually after the rapture, and I'm stuck on earth. Church really messed me up. Yo, did you see that Left Behind movie as a kid too? The rapture happens, and it follows the lives of the people who weren't taken. I solely blame this movie series for any rapture nightmare I've ever had. The video for Mitchell Jackson's Thriller. The very last scene where it appeared to be just a dream and Michael's looking normal, but then he turns around and stares at you with the werewolf eyes. That terrified me. And that laugh. My god, that laugh. It was Vincent Price's laugh. He was kind of a juggernaut of 1950s and 60s B-horror movies. Fun fact, in the credits for the video, Vincent is credited under rap. Thunderstorms. I used to hide under the covers and could only run from the room between flashes. Now I will sit at the window and watch. I love a good thunderstorm now. All it took was a very weird 9-ish-year-old me to stand at the window during a big storm and yell things like, "Is that all you've got?" Yeah, kinda like Lieutenant Dan, but before I ever saw Forrest Gump. When I was a teenager I was home alone a lot, so when it would storm I'd run over to the neighbors. However, they never let anyone in their house, so he'd stand outside in the storm with me, so I wasn't alone. Stay in a house where I'm dry alone, or stand out in it. Yeah, I wasn't the smartest kid sometimes. I feel like there is so much more to this story. Probably. Their house ended up getting condemned and they bought a new house. They are great people though, and I still keep in contact with them. I think it's incredibly sweet that he kept you company. Catching fire. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get set on fire at all. But the amount of stop, drop, and roll lessons I got in kindergarten made me think this was going to be a once a year thing at minimum. Wow. I hadn't even thought about how much they drilled this into us. Better safe than sorry, yeah. But man, it did kinda freak me out. Flushing the toilet. Did you watch those bizarre commercials with the talking toilet in the early 90s that scared you as a kid too? No, I watched Stephen King's It, and I realize all pipes go to the same place, and if he could come out of the drain in the shower then he can also come out of the toilet. That's legitimate too. The little doll guys from the movie 9 scared me when I was like 6. Love that movie. I've never finished it. What's it even about? The short version is: a dictator makes a scientist create a robot that he uses to create more robots to fight for him. The original robot called B-R-A-I-N turns evil and decides to exterminate the human race. The machine basically kills all humans. The scientist somehow then splits his soul into 9 dolls using alchemy and leaves a message behind explaining they are Earth's last hope in defeating the robot by using a talisman he left behind, which I think is used in creating the robot. Also, once the scientist creates the final doll, the protagonist, he dies. The final doll number 9 then waking up ventures outside to the ruined world, meeting up the other dolls. Exclamation mark. Oh that. Looking at mirrors in the night. Thought they would become haunted in the dark. Edit. Thank you guys. Really needed it. Didn't know this would be such a relatable thing. I did think it was a really unique weird type of fear. Edit 2. Till that my fear was based on an optical illusion. I'm 21 and I'm still scared to look in a mirror at night. I don't want to know what's behind me in the dark. Apparently if you stare at a mirror in the dark long enough you start hallucinating, your face contorting. It'll take your word for it. In fact, there are a lot of weird things your eyes do in the dark. A lot of shit your brain/eyes do in the dark tricks you, and your brain creates faces and other things out of thin air that aren't actually there. It's probably why a lot of monster stories were created by early man. When I get freaked out in the dark or see a passing shadow or something, I recall Star Wars. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Apostrophe. The movie Jeepers Creepers. Wait till you see the second one. That bus scene kinda scared the shit out of me as a 12-year-old. The bus scene? The whole movie was practically on the bus. I bet it was the decapitation scene. The dark. Just kidding, I'm still a little bitch. I had to sleep with a night light or hall light or TV on my whole life. Then I just stopped. And now it can never be dark enough. I love hotels. Dude, same. I don't sleep near as well if I don't have absolute darkness. Act turned down while I own my fan. 4 feet from my face, lol. I love hotels as well. One of my favorite things to do. Sometimes I'll get a room in my own town just to sleep in one for a night or two. Good times. Thank God. I knew I wasn't the only one. There's one in town with a heated pool I use in the winter time. Do an off week and I'm the only guy there. Running up the basement stairs after turning off the light. Just kidding. That shit is still terrifying. I'm 35 and I still do this. If someone says they don't, I'm pretty sure they're lying. Nah, just broken spirit. I'm the only monster in this house. Large Marge. Large Marge, send me. Opening a can of Pillsbury biscuits. Just waiting for that pop after unraveling the paper. Spooky. The pop is what keeps us humble. Being spanked. It's gone from being a punishment to being a reward. Same as naps. Staying home. Not having friends over. Going to bed early. Sign me the fuck up. I was always afraid of Baby Bell cheese. Not sure why, but I'm over it now that I'm older. A few months ago I bought some Baby Bell at a gas station in a tiny town while on a road trip. It tasted off and I noticed that it expired in 2018. I'm now afraid of Baby Bell. Hades from Hercules. Now I like him better than any other villain. Yes, Hades is the best villain, chef's kiss. Thistles and cacti. Basically any plant that had nasty spikes. Whenever I'd walk in a grass field and see a tiny thistle plant near my foot, I would stop dead in my tracks and call for help. Nowadays, I still get uneased at the thought of falling onto those things, especially the giant thistles. I fell into a gorse bush once. It took me nearly a month to get all of the spikes and splinters out. They didn't hurt and weren't infected or anything, but they were there. My ever-growing apathy towards life took out most fears. Foot hanging off the bed and monsters can get me. Good. I have work in the morning. I sleep with my feet hanging out of the bed and half woke up one morning and it felt like someone was massaging my feet. It was bliss. I don't know if it was some form of sleep paralysis or a ghost or what, as I didn't look because I didn't want it to stop. Lovely way to start the day. A ghost with a foot fetish lol. The Bermuda Triangle. I've encountered it a lot less than I thought I would have. On the other hand, I've encountered it and not disappeared a lot more than I would have thought. Maybe you did disappear and just don't know it. They do say it is a portal to another dimension and just don't know it. Well, now he knows. Thanks a lot. As a kid, I was somehow able to watch the first two Jurassic Park movies so much that I knew the script off by heart by age 5, but an episode of Thomas the Tank Engine scared the shit out of me. This was about the time the show started to move away from adapting Audrey's stories and started writing their own scripts. As part of this, they decided to make a bunch of spooky episodes. I was fine with all of them, except one about a big boulder. From memory, the gist of the story is they open a new quarry right at the spot a gigantic boulder sits on top of a cliff. One of the engines, Rusty, hates the place cause it feels as if the boulder's watching him. Eventually, they destabilize the cliff enough that the boulder drops onto the tracks and you have a series of Indiana Jones style chases. So what exactly was so scary about it? Simple really, the boulder had a face. Now I know you're wondering, but don't all the trains have faces? Yeah, but their faces are distinct from the rest of them to the point you can tell they are meant to have faces. The thing with the boulder is that it didn't consistently have a face. It only has a face at a couple of points in the episode that randomly appears. So it's a normal rock and then bam, it's a rock with a very angry face. I think it was the inconsistency of whether the rock was sentient or not that freaked young me out. After confessing this to a friend as an adult, I ended up finding the episode on YouTube and just laughing at how ridiculous it was being scared of it. The greatest irony of all, I went from being terrified of a rock to getting a degree in geology. Sodder, from the older episodes, is pure nightmare fuel. My kid was really into Thomas, just before it became less dystopian. One birthday I found myself buying him the official Thomas collapsing bridge, and couldn't believe it. 10 years later, my kids will still drag out all those old tracks and accessories and go to town building complex layouts. So I definitely got my money's worth. The THX logo edit. Thank you. My first award. Liar. That shit is still terrifying. When I hear it, I still get a little twinge of the old anxiety. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.